Good evening. I'm live. It's just past 9 o'clock on a Monday night, and that can mean only one thing. The Indianapolis Colts season is going down the drain. Nope. Just me tonight, as I've heard Nathan and Ed have gone to try out for the Indianapolis Colts because apparently Philip Rivers is the starter. I'll get into that later. So just me tonight, so a bit of a shorter episode, but we got a few things to discuss about the Indianapolis Colts, the franchise we all well know and love. So for those who don't know or who are living under a rock, Philip Rivers' comeback game was unsuccessful as in the last minute of the game, Lou Anarumo and the defense just forgot how to play football, which is annoying to say because they were pretty much lights out for the rest of the game, but scheme being exposed with weak players, Jermaine Pratt covering wide receiver ones again. What are we playing at here? Excuse me. No. So let's get into it. So the game, it started well. We was frustrating Seattle. I thought their offensive play calling was horrendous. Their fans couldn't have been too happy. It was going well, but it was just, Philip Rivers was mediocre. He's been out of the game for 5 years. He's been coaching. He was never known for his athletic ability, never known for his throwing it, but even the short passes looked like a struggle. They weren't exactly sipping in there. I know he's got a bit of a goofy throwing style, abstract to the norm, but I don't know. It just felt like a bit of a limp to the finish line. And as I said in my instant reaction, do we really think if we won that game, we'd then go and beat the Texans? I think it's the Jags up next, isn't it? I can't even. The last 3 games are the Jags, 49ers, and the Texans. We might actually lose our year. It's going to be tough. It's just another year where Chris Ballard has just built a mediocre team, and that's what we are. We're like the poor man's version of Tomlin's Steelers, really. And bringing Philip Rivers out of retirement to play, was that a move to give us the best chance of winning, or was that a move to preserve people's careers in Steichen and Ballard? Because we will get to the end of the year, it'll be another postseason press conference, and it will be Chris Ballard sat there again with his famous yogurt drink cup, telling us how we were so close, but injuries ruined us. And it's been tough. We have to speak relatively here because, Jets fans, Titans fans, even though Titans have had some success in the recent years going to the playoffs, and I believe they won the wildcard round against the Ravens, if that's right, a while ago. But yeah, Jets fans, Titan fans, Giant fans really are going through it and can't seem to climb out. So I'm relatively speaking here, but it's been tough these past 5 years, really, 5-6 years, as a Colts fan, because it's just the same script every year. And I said in Southbound's WhatsApp group to the lad, I was saying, I just get jealous of watching other teams because the elite teams, they demand excellence when they play. The coaching demands excellence. The standards, the minimum is higher than what the Colts can offer at most times. The season we started off like a house on fire. Daniel Jones was excellent, so I'm not lying the blame at his door. But even before today, the past 3-4 weeks, probably even going back to Germany, maybe even Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh game, the play calling's been just god awful from Shane. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's changed. Obviously, Daniel's injury, the fractured fibula, it's going to change how you play. But the play calling's been rancid. Even last night, like I know it's Philip Rivers, and he's not going to RPO. It's run, short pass, run, short pass, run, short pass. Trying to use his intelligence and his veteran experience of the game to, excuse me, break down the Seahawks, and it very nearly worked. But even so, we had to rely on a 60-yard field goal. You know, we're playing on such fine margins that it was bound to start going against us at some point. And I think this speaks to a bigger problem of the culture in the Colts at the moment, that when the moment's there, we crumble. The Rams, we had the chance to put the game to bed. We crumbled. And Pittsburgh, we had a chance to set some narrative right. We crumbled. Texans crumbled. Jags was fucking disastrous. So it's just a limp. We're just limping, and God, it was just limping to the finish line again. And I don't know how many more times we have to sit here as Colts fans and take the same old, I don't want to say excuses, because football, a bit of luck plays into it, right? Unless you believe in the football gods like everyone does, but a bit of luck plays into it. No pun intended. Like, you've got to get lucky with injuries. I mean, we're down to Philip Rivers and our two backup tackles. Side note, Jalen Travis, I thought you had a really good game. And the backup tackle who come in for Bernie begins with T. I can't remember his name. Excuse me. I thought he played really well. But a bit of common sense. You know, Daniel Jones was on a fractured fibula and we still played him. And I know Anthony Richardson was injured, but man, it couldn't have been worse with Riley Leonard, I don't think. I don't understand. I'm not going to say picking Rivers up and getting him to go. I'm not going to say it was disastrous or it is disastrous or it's crazy or whatever, you know, you see mainstream media saying, because they obviously say a lot of crap. You know, I don't think it was actually as crazy out there as some of the things the Colts have done. So, but yeah, I would rather go out slinging it, giving it all we've got, than just slowly limping to a death by 1,000 3-yard passes from Philip Rivers. Because that has been accentuated, because he has been named the starter, even though Anthony Richardson's clear. And this is a gigantic red flag. Why on earth? We just stand a better chance with Anthony Richardson playing. We just do. I think it's cowardly from Shane Steichen and Ballard, and I think it's disrespectful, the right word. I definitely think if I was Anthony Richardson, I would be extremely frustrated that I'm not being trusted when it's my turn to be trusted, because we was happy enough. Well, I say we, Shane and Chris were happy enough to, and the quarterback coach, Cam Turner, I believe his name is, and Jimbo Cooter's all happy enough to kick Richardson to the curb. But now, you know, he's got a chance to prove himself and try and save a scrap of an almighty collapse of the season. We're still going with Philip Rivers. It's just, you know, I know Shane and Philip go a long way back, and Anthony Richardson can't run Shane's offense, that's fine. But we have to have a coach who is capable of dealing with adversity. And Shane Steichen just really isn't capable of dealing with that adversity. He wants to resort to a safety blanket, to a training wheels, American call them, or stabilizers over here. You know, he just wants to revert to that. And if I mean, who is our next game? I'm just going to check who our next game is. I should have had it up and prepared, but I didn't. I believe it's the Texans. Let me just check. This makes for good TV or good radio if you listen. No, so it's the 49ers next. It's Texans last week of the season. That's where I was getting confused. So 49ers, Jags, Texans. God, I mean, if the 49ers don't sell out to stop the run, then they're stupid. I thought Seattle were naive. I thought their offensive play calling was pretty bad. I can understand why their fans got upset. Just 1 second, guys. You know, they really didn't sell out to stop the run. So the 49ers, this is the difference, okay? Because I wanted to see this. So even though, because they're like us, the 49ers, they are currently 10-4 in a very competitive, probably the best division in football at the minute, the NFC West, which has the Rams at 11-3, the Seahawks at 11-3, and the 49ers at 10-4. And then the Cars at 3-11, but that's a different story. So they're at 10-4, and the injuries they have had. You know, I'm pretty sure Purdy's been out for a while. Warner's been out for a while. You know, they've had injuries, and they're not making excuses. They're still fighting hard in a harder division, clawing and scratching for the playoffs and going down for it. And we're just like, well, it's okay if we don't make it. You know, we'll try again next year. Just breaking news coming through from The Athletic. Jaden Daniels shut down for the season. I mean, yeah, that was pretty obviously going to happen after I saw what happened in that other game. So Mariota is going to be their starter there. That doesn't really affect the Colts. Yeah, so back to the Colts. Just limping to the finish line. It's just tough to watch because it just feels like deja vu all over again. And, you know, the question for me is Ballard and Shane Steichen capable of elevating this team to the next level? No. I think it's obvious that they're just not. You know, when I see... sorry, guys, you'll have to forgive me. I'm trying to remember all the notes I've written down. But Ben Johnson, that's right, innit, of the Bears, who's turned them to 10-4 team, I believe. You see the Broncos with Sean Payton as their head coach, just demanding just strong football, strong fundamental, disciplined football. The Seahawks, it wasn't great, but they were disciplined until the last snap, and we just wasn't. And that's the difference between your mid teams, the Colts, and your elite teams. They're just, with a little bit of luck, hard work and discipline, you make a good football team. And I think there just has to be a whole culture reset. And I think I'm happy to say I want Shane Steichen gone. I want Chris Ballard gone. Luana Rumo is on very thin ice, if you ask me. And I'll go through each of them, you know, because I feel like it would have been last Monday, yeah, because we didn't do a show last week, but We didn't get a chance to do a show last Thursday, but if we did, I would have explained better. Last Monday was pretty emotional from us guys. And I didn't really offer analysis. I was just held up from the moment. So I actually want to offer some analysis and not just attack the people, because that's not the right way. But let's start with. So we'll start with the top. We'll start with Chris Ballard. He's been here 8 years now, and he's just not addressed the quarterback situation. Obviously, it was looking like Daniel Jones was on to good things. We'd found something there, but it's tough. But he's had 8 years, and the best answer he could come up with Daniel Jones. He traded for Carson Wentz. He traded for Matt Ryan. He brought in Joe Flacco, Gardner Minshew. I mean, Philip Rivers' first time round was good, but he couldn't keep him on the team. He didn't manage to convince him to stay for at least another year. Jacoby Brissett, we tried out. It didn't work. I like Jacoby. I think he's getting a rough deal. And his big swing with Anthony Richardson, for whatever reason, just isn't working. We all see the talent in Richardson, but obviously there's a complete breakdown, lack of trust, communication between him and Steichen. Between Richardson and Steichen, sorry. So I think it's tough to say Chris hasn't been unlucky with injuries this year. Hunter Wally pre-season, Sauce Gardner after the big trade. Nick Cross was out for a while. Anthony Richardson, when we needed him, was out. Daniel Jones, Butner's out. So it's easy to sit here and criticise, but you got to think, if we made the trade for Sauce Gardner, it makes me feel like we was always going to make the trade for Sauce Gardner. So why did we wait so long? Especially after, I'm sure someone can correct me, Xavier Howard retired after playing a couple of games. What are we doing here? Who are we going to get in next? And it just feels like, from a team that felt like they had a little bit of a Super Bowl window going for him, it feels like we're 10 years away from even thinking about it. That's a bit extreme. 5 years away from even thinking about it. So, he's I mentioned it so many times, but again, I feel harsh because it's no one's fault. Sauce Gardner got injured, it's non-contact, but was corner really where we needed to go? So that links me into the next point, and I'll go with. Just to clarify, Chris Ballard needs to be gone. He's not taking us anywhere. He's flat out refused, as Nathan's alluded to so many times. He's admitted to being too tight to trading for Matthew Stafford. Look at the Rams now. Look at where we could have been with a Matthew Stafford. And I know it's hindsight and things don't work like that, but JT, Matthew Stafford, Quentin Nelson sounds like a good trio. So I think the problem is he's trying to build he's always tried to develop a franchise, Chris Ballard. He's always tried to develop his players up. But then when it comes to paying them players, he's just neglected them and said, no, go somewhere else. We're not bothered. So he's never rewarded progress, really, unless you are Quentin Nelson, Jonathan Tate, unless you are a superstar. Pittman got a pretty good deal, but, could we look at that and say it's a bit of an overpay? Pitt, I do feel sorry for him. Feel sorry for Quentin as well, to be fair. We could trade him. He needs to go and chase a ring. He's too good for this. He's too good to play for another quarterback. I know he's played with Philip Rivers before, but it's just another quarterback, another change. Like, can we just stop messing around, man? And that's, I want someone. I think it's time for someone with fresh eyes to come in, someone from the outside. Andrew, look what you're up to. I'm only joking. As much as I'd love that, but I think we need a GM who's going to come in with fresh ideas, different looks, just a different way of thinking, because I think Ballard's experiment has not worked. Because he's just, and it's quite simple. It's not worked because he's not replaced the people who need to be replaced, and he's kept them on, and he's not kept the ones we needed to keep. Almost as if he's just been too clever for his own good. So yeah, I think realistically, Ballard's done. One or two have to go. One or two do have to go. But to talk about defense, God, it felt harsh. I was pretty hot in the group chat about the defense last night, but we're 10th in rushing, which is fine, absolutely fine with that. Butner out, Grove getting older, that's fine. What I can't accept is we're 29th in the passing game. 29th. That's just not improved from last year. And it goes down to, for me, the coaching. Like, I think Lou Anarumo is a good coordinator. So I don't want to, say, excuse me, can't share this call. I don't want to say he's done completely. But in my eyes, with 29th in the passing game, with the investment on defense we've had this year, I just don't think that's acceptable. Leaving Jermaine Pratt to cover Jackson Smith in Jigba this week, and then the week before, in Jacksonville, covering, was it Brian Robson Jr.? Maybe I'm getting that wrong. But covering their wide receiver one, and it's every week, and it feels like I don't know, it just feels like everyone's sort of for themselves. There's no one for the team at the minute. And I feel that's big, and I feel like that started really since Buckner's gone out, because he's the driving force, he's the captain. Isaiah Franklin's the vocal captain, but I think him staying here this year was a mistake on both parts, because I think he's an okay player, but I think he's incapable of. I think he very much feels like he's playing for himself and not for the Colts, and that's a problem. And not just him. I know I do like to get on his back a bit, but he's a third down. I don't want to say it like that because I can't play it, but I just think we're just missing. And maybe it's tough because maybe Hunter Wally with the injury and Carlisle's with the injury, like that's what I'm talking about with the look. It can just be tough to, it can be tough to sit here and say this should happen, that should happen, when you have to just look at the unluckiness with injuries. But I think what it is, like I alluded to last week, Zaire Franklin's celebrating, and with 3 scores down, and he's celebrating that they only got a 4-yard gain on a rush. and that's your standards. It's the fucking standard, boys. Arsenal reference, even when Nathan and Ed aren't here, I can get Arsenal references and get more of them in as well. But it looked like there was just too many people happy to walk off and be like, "Oh, that was a close game." yeah, it's worthless though. It's just another worthless game at the end of the season for the Coles. And again, just watching another Shane Steichen team just limp, because as soon as teams have tape on Shane Steichen, they know it. They work it out. Sorry, but I was talking about Lou Anarumo, so I'll conclude about Lou Anarumo. Am I done with him? I think so. That's tough. But like I say, is it an improvement on last year's defense? But yeah. But I think even Gus Bradley would have got an improvement with the investment made on this defense. I, again, started out like a house on fire, but when it came to it, we rushed free. That last drive from the Seahawks, the first play, bear in mind it was at the 33-yard line. So they're not doing Hail Mary at that point. They're trying to get to a field goal range because they know a field goal wins it, because Philip Rivers can't throw it fucking 6 yards. And we rush free and drop everyone else into coverage, give Sam Darnold all the time in the world. He finds a 20-yard pass, and that's the game. All because I don't know. I just think that's inexcusable. If I was Carl Ursay, I would want answers as to why he thought that was the right call. Because rushing 4 against quarterbacks in this league with a good pass rush is dangerous. But let's make no mistake, our pass rush is woeful. It is woeful. Latu, gets the coverage sack in the end, but how many times did we rush 4? Darnold knew there would be a gap in the line because we only rushed 4, steps up, completes it, because we just can't get to the quarterback. I mean, we bought Philip Rivers out of retirement, Robert Mathis, Dwight Freeney. What are you guys up to? But again, and this is what I mean, like standards and team building from Chris Ballard. And this is no disrespect to the players, and this not even a backhanded way, but our pass rushers. So Buckner's out, Grover is good at run stopping and carries a lot of presence and does a lot, but he's just double teamed because Buckner's out, and we've got I'm gonna get his name wrong, but Double A Adeboare, who's done reasonably well, but he's not Buckner. He doesn't demand respect. He doesn't demand a game plan. You know, I thought the Seahawks line was pretty terrible. Like I said, is it Klebernick, their offensive coordinator? But the Seahawks coaching staff can't be happy with that win. They'll be happy they got the result, but they can't be happy that that's how it panned out. But yeah, so Grove, fine. Latu, there's a player in there. I just want him getting more sacks than interceptions. And I think I definitely like Latu. There's definitely a player there. But again, Quitty Pay hasn't lived up to his first round pick, 15th overall. That's looking like a miss, unfortunately. You know, and then it's Samson Mabukum and Taekwon Lewis. Again, Abukum's just come off a big injury, so I'm not going to be hard on him. Taekwon Lewis can do a few good things here and there, but it's not a D-line that. And even, I guess, JTT, it just seems invisible. So it's just a D-line. You know, Ballard preaches trenches, but let's be realistic here. If it wasn't for DeForest Buckner being a superstar, our D-line, the past for his regime, just just woeful, really. I don't know what else to say. He's not really built the defensive line. He managed to build a bit of an oil line, but the D line, nah. So we can't get to the quarterback. We're probably one of the worst teams at actually getting a quarterback down. We get pressures, but we don't do anything with that pressure. And then any decent quarterback just steps up and throws it or takes what's given to him. Excuse me. So Luano Rumo, I'm happy to see a couple more games. I'm happy to wait until the end of the season before I make my final judgment on him. But you can't, again, like Chris Ballard, you can't expect and Shane's like, you can't expect everything to go right all the time and get all the luck with injuries. And there's just no backup game plan to that happening. Buckner gets injured. Okay, what do we need to do then? Well, I'd say we would need to compensate by going heavier on the D line and forcing overloads on the D line, rather than just thinking, oh, the next person up can do it. Like, because I just, yeah, very thin ice. Like I say, very thin ice. I'm happy to see him out till the end of the season and see what goes on. But 29th in the passing game is not good enough. 10th in the rush game is all right. But again, rushing 3 on the last drive to give them all the time in the world when there's less than a minute left, it's just inexcusable. It's not good enough. God, this sounds depressing, this stream, but the Colts aren't offering much hope. No, so to give a bit of like, well, Shane Steichen, then I'll go on to Shane Steichen and then I'll look at a few positive things and where the Colts go from here. But to everyone watching tonight, thanks for joining. I hope, I've explained it well and tried coming at it from a different point of view rather than it's just all crap, because we want actual detailed analysis. But I go by my name tag. We are fucked. And we have given away 2 first-round picks, like I say, nothing on Sauce. But obviously we've got a hell of a cornerback pairing going into next year. But it's going to become very expensive very quick. So somewhere's going to lose out. Like we said, I just don't think Chris Ballard has the answer right now. And I don't think he knows how to make it better. But we'll see. Shane Steichen. Shane fucking Steichen. The bloke is useless. He's useless. And I'll happily say it. I think his situational awareness and his game planning is atrociously bad. And it just feels all too the same. Go back a few years. 4th and 1 against the Texans in Lucas Oil Stadium, I believe. We just need to pick up the first down. He does an RPO to Tyler Goodson. Jonathan Taylor's not even on the pitch. A 4th and 1 when you need a play and Jonathan Taylor's not on the pitch. I don't think I gave the Shane Steichen this year for ruining JT's MVP season. Don't think I can forgive him. I think he killed it in that Pittsburgh game where he I don't know, forgot he existed. Refused to run him. I don't know. But I don't know he has the locker room. I don't think he has the locker room. I think he did when he had his guys in there, Daniel. I think that's why he's brought Phillip Rivers in, because he needs a guy in the locker room. But I think there's a lot of people, a lot of players who don't align with Shane Steichen. And I get it, because they sit there and have this guy preaching to them every week. It needs to be better. It needs to be better. But he's not making anything better. And again, I go to my point. The greatest head coaches, Dungy's, your Belichick's, your Paytons, your Pete Carroll's, Andy Reid's, Bruce Arians, these coaches, they find a will. They find a will and a way to deal with the adversity. Shane Steichen is incapable of doing that. Like, look at the Denver game early in the year where we got bailed out by a bullshit flag. 3 runs up the middle. Nearly it should have cost us the game, and it didn't, thankfully, but it nearly cost us the game. Last night, what was the play? And this is it. I know it's Philip Rivers, but the play calling was just I want to know what he was thinking. Just insane. His play calling is criminal. It truly is. And I just don't. I think he's literally at the end of his playbook, and he doesn't know what to do anymore. Like, we are playing with Philip Rivers, and again, this is not hating on Philip Rivers. He came in and did all right, but would last night have been any worse if we'd given Riley Leonard a shot? No, we probably still would have lost anyway, but at least we would have found out what we had in a player. If Riley Leonard could have gone in there and put up, I'm going to have a look now, Philip Rivers stats from last night, but I don't believe it was too pretty when this loads. I can talk forever about the Colts. So 10 more minutes at least when it loads. No, I'm dropping everything. Like the Colts, again, Harris, I do forget I do run a podcast. This makes for a good podcast, me just not saying anything and searching Philip Rivers stats. I do forget that sometimes. But it will eventually load. But are we seriously saying, because if Riley Leonard couldn't have done what Philip Rivers did last night, then he shouldn't even be QB3? Like, this is just insane. So 66% completion, 120 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, but it was more just an arm punt and hoping for the best, so not really looking at that. We don't think Riley Leonard could have put up them numbers. I think he could have. I think he could have put up better numbers than that. But, I'm not the head coach, and Philip Rivers isn't my best mate, so we'll see. And again, not hating on Philip Rivers, I just think, what's the point of having backup and rookie QBs and developing quarterbacks and, having them guys on the roster if you're not going to trust them or at least try them? And I'm not pinning the loss on Riley Leonard in Jacksonville. I'm not pinning that on him because I don't think that was his fault. I thought he'd give it a hell of a shot. And I think he deserved a shot. And I do think it's cowardly, and I think it's happy to throw someone else under the bus to try and save my own arse from Shane Steichen to start and play Rivers. I do. Again, not the hate on the player, hate on the idea, I guess. So let's end things a bit more positively because it has all been negative now. And we'll see on Thursday when hopefully Ed and Nathan are back from their quarterback trials in Indiana. Oh, congratulations on Indiana Hughes, quarterback Mendoza, by the way, for picking up the Heisman Award. That's positive news. Mortgage a farm and go and get him. Why not? What's a couple more first round picks? Overrated anyway. Um, joking, but no, Jalen Travis, excellent game for a rookie tackle. Thought he played with blinder, one flag, which I debate, but I'm not going to get into referees and flags because I think they're just crap. But I thought Jalen Travis for his first start in the NFL against Seattle, in Seattle, I thought he did excellent. And the kicker, Groupie, hit a 60-yarder. I don't think I've ever seen a Colt hit a 60-yarder. I'll have to check, but I don't think I've seen it. So, Spencer Strader, look out, brother. But we're going to have a kicking competition in the off season because we won't be in the playoffs. Woo! No, but I thought special teams were fantastic last night. They tried. Again, annoyingly, I thought the defense were great, just apart from the moment we needed them to be great. And the offense, if the offense gets more than 100-yard offense next Sunday, I'll be very surprised. And like I say, Richardson's not the starter, get yourself out of Indy, mate. You deserve better than that. You seriously do. Because it's just fundamentally true that we have a better chance with Richardson to win than we do with Phillip Rivers. And there's no point losing games because we don't have a pick. So it's looking fun. It's looking fun, but like I say, just a bit of a shorter episode tonight. I managed to waffle it on for 40 minutes. So thank you for everyone who stuck by and watched it for 40 minutes. We love you. We do love the Colts. Hopefully on Thursday I talk to Ed or Nathan. One of the two will be here, hopefully. Like I say, or maybe one of them starting for the Indianapolis Colts. We'll find out soon. See you all later. Goodbye.